casually run. Who finds these speedruns? This is a commonly asked question from those who watch glitches for the first time. When you watch a glitch, having only experienced a game crazy, it might seem strange that someone out there had decided to try and put that glitch in an extremely specific combination of glitches that results in something happening. For every trick you see in a glitch, there's a person. An entire speed glitch out, especially for games such as Ocarina of Time, Super Mario 64, is often dependent on years and dozens of glitch hunters. The glitch hunters are the ones who stretch a, and while the work of every glitch hunter is important, there are some glitch hunters who definitely stand. If you've watched an Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask speedrun within the past, you've probably witnessed a glitch. Glitches and Stuff has been discovering glitches. In that time, he has discovered over 100 glitches, techniques, and stuff across 12 different games. Now, what any glitch hunter finds is not going to be useful. Many documented findings are never used in glitches, but can help us understand. Glitches and Stuff is responsible for general strategies within the Zelda franchise, such as bit glitches, Skyward Sword, but his most iconic with the boomerang. On October 2019, Glitches and Stuff was messing around a Link in Ocarina of Time Forest Temple. During his research, he wondered what might happen if Skulltula token used the boomerang to collect a Link, but then exit the room the Skulltula token was in, before the boomerang came back to him. The boomerang always pauses between door transitions in Ocarina of Time, and the objects loaded in the previous room unload once the room transition is complete. But if the boomerang is still active while the objects unload, what happens to the token it's carrying? Glitches and Stuff got his answer when he re-entered the main lobby and there was a door. When the boomerang picks up an object in Ocarina of Time, it stores what's known as a reference. This reference is as a reference, and the boomerang as a reference. When exiting the room with the boomerang still active, the game unloads the Skulltula token when re-entering the main room locations as before. This time, it happened to load a door at the memory location that the boomerang has a stale reference to, meaning that the boomerang will now manipulate. Thus, the trick is called stale or SM. Of course, all this wasn't immediately obvious to us, and this wasn't the first time. The earliest instance of SRM actually dates back to 2019, but by 2019 there had been significant advancements, the most important tool being a live memory viewer, as watching the game's memory change in real time provides invaluable information as to what's happening internally. Using these tools work figuring out what happened and what else might be possible with this technique. After a week of non-stop team research, Glitches and Stuff debuted Glitches and Stuff, the ability to change what item is inside. With the immense complexity of S also came immense possibility, and the next year of glitch hunting provided no short of new discoveries. SM capable of editing Link Orbit and even arbitrary. With this immense power though, an easy glitch to perform. Successfully executing an instance of SM typically involves setting up the game's memory in a very specific way. The difficulty, precision, and understanding of what's happening internally is the reason it took over 20 years to discover SM after the release of the game. And even though Glitches and Stuff wasn't technically the first person to perform the technique, his discoveries in the Forest Temple and of editing chest contents ultimately sparked the beginning of the S revolution in Ocarina of Time. This revolution saved enormous amounts of time in every category that allowed SR, and changed the way speedrunners view the game. Of course, not all discoveries end up requiring years of research and testing to figure out. Some major glitches just appear out of nowhere, like what happened to Glitch Hunter Gurtana 1 in the Wind Waker HD. In late June of 2016, Gurtana decided that he wanted to play the Wind Waker HD. Wind Waker HD is a GameCube game, but Gurtana wanted to play it with a Wii U controller instead. Since the game doesn't have native Wii U controller support, Gurtana had to use a homebrew program to help make it work. One of the quality of life improvements that Wind Waker HD has over the original is the ability to walk around while in first person when holding out items. Naturally, Gurtana made use of this improvement while he was playing. However, sometimes when Gurtana pulled out a first-person item, he would begin sliding forward with more speed than normal, despite the fact that his control stick was in the neutral position. Confused as to what was happening, Gurtana contacted another Wind Waker HD speedrunner, Suslord, to try and figure out what was going on. The result was bigger than either of them could have expected.
Alright, so the plan is scary. No, this game's dead. This game is fucking.
It turns out that the ability to move while aiming with first-person items can be exploited to build up speed at an exponential rate, a glitch now known as item sliding. This works by moving in a direction with any first-person item, then immediately repositioning the control stick to be just outside of the dead zone in the opposite direction. Link's speed will then begin to exponentially climb with a 20% increase every single frame. What happened with Gurtana was that the homebrew program he used didn't map the control stick correctly, causing the neutral position of the GameCube controller to be interpreted as holding slightly downward. So when Gurtana would move forward with a first-person item and then let go of the control stick, it would snap into the perfect position to cause an item slide. Before item sliding, Wind Waker HD was a speedrun that didn't feature very many glitches, so once item sliding joined the fray, the runtimes began to plummet. But even with the ability to slide around at high speeds, Wind Waker HD was still a 3.5 hour long speedrun. The game still had one major roadblock left that Gurtana was eyeing: the barrier around Hyrule Castle, which prevents players from accessing Ganon's tower early. If it was somehow possible to get on the other side of this one wall, then the game would drop to a 90-minute speedrun almost immediately. And considering the fact that there was now a glitch which easily allowed runners to reach ridiculously high speed values, I'm sure you can guess what eventually happened.
Whoa, whoa.
It turns out that the collision polygons of the barrier don't quite come together in the center of the bridge. With an extremely precise facing angle and a fast enough movement speed, Gurtana successfully managed to get a recording of clipping through the barrier on April 10th, 2017. This massive sequence break now allowed for runs to skip completing every single dungeon, as well as the long Triforce quest at the end of the game. Thanks to the efforts of Gurtana and the rest of the community, Wind Waker HD transformed into a speedrun full of sequence breaks and insanely fun high-speed movement. And it all started because of a faulty homebrew program. Homebrew aside though, glitch hunters have been finding big glitches before the modern tools of today. Many older games have had active communities for well over a decade, and different people have come and gone as the years pass by. But some influence a game well beyond their stay. If at any point you've watched an Ocarina of Time speedrun that was done after the year 2008, you've almost certainly seen a glitch that was discovered Kazooie. Kazooie began glitch hunting Ocarina of Time all the way back in 2005, and is responsible for many of the game's earliest sequence breaks and major glitches. Gerudo Fortress's Child and Shadow Temple Early were two of Kazooie's earliest finds. They were key discoveries that allowed runners to begin skipping the forest, fire, and water temples almost 15 years ago, and brought down the game's time. Kazooie is also responsible for finding other major glitches that would be used later in the game's history, such as Bottle Adventure and early explosives. As powerful as these glitches are, none of them would even get close to a video that Kazooie uploaded on March 27th, 2008, showcasing a massive new sequence break that's still used in known as Door of Skip. The door normally stops Link from obtaining the Door Sword before he's supposed to. In a normal playthrough, Link has to obtain the 3 spiritual stones from the game's 3 child dungeons, as well as pick up the Ocarina of Time and the Song of Time before the Door of Time will let him travel through Door. So being able to bypass it saves a lot of time. But if you stand in the proper position on the left side of the door, you can actually see past it to the other side. The door doesn't quite stretch to the left wall, and this is where the exploit begins. To get the skip to work, Kazooie used a combination of 2 techniques that he'd previously seen. A side hop out of bounds clip by Samus by using a precise Samus the door while still facing in Samus towards the Samus. With this facing angle, he could make Link jump slash and redirect his momentum to go forward and land back in bounds to get past the door. A sim that results in a simple combination. The door skip continues to be an integral part of Ocarina of Time. Even some current routes which use S to warp around everywhere still make use of it for getting to the door sword. And it's hard to imagine what the game's runs would be like without Door of Skip, or any of the other glitches that Kazooie contributed to Ocarina of Time. Except, I forgot one thing. Kazooie wasn't the first person to perform Door of Time Skip. That credit goes to a glitch hunter named Mijitsu. Mijitsu had performed the glitch a few days beforehand but hadn't published a video on it, and had used tools that allowed him to slow down the game and help demonstrate that the glitch was possible. Whereas Kazooie performed the skip in real time after hours of trying to make it work. They each discovered the same glitch